How movement works in Pirate is that we have straight lines and diagonal lines. Moving in a straight line costs 1 movement. Moving diagonally costs 1.5 movement. In this picture here, we have a Nausicaa with a flat range of 7 movement. So let's say Nausicaa wanted to move in a straight diagonal line. Moving diagonally costs 1.5 movement. So moving 1, 1.5, moving for a second, 3, 4.5, and 6. Nausicaa could not move for a fifth tile, as that would cost another 1.5 movement, for a total of 7.5 movement, of which she only has 7. Alright, so let's say Nausicaa wanted to move in a straight line. So that'd be 1 tile for 1 movement, 2 for 2 movement, 3 for 3. Uh-oh, looks like she ran into a pillar here. So we'll move to the left for 1.5. So that's a total of 4.5 movement. Move back for another diagonal for 6 movement. And then move one more tile ahead for 7 movement. Alright, so let's say you wanted to move to this tile here. Could she go this way? Go up, then go left to this tile? And no, that's the answer. No. No, she cannot. The reason is that how game calculates movement is how it always wants to move diagonally first. So we'll go here, go here, go here, and go here. The game wants to make as little calculations as possible. So it'll move you in the least amount of tiles possible. So that's 1.5 here, 3, 4.5, and 6. You cannot take a roundabout way. The reason why being forced to move diagonally first is so important is because it means it can be abused, both by the player and the opposing player. So let's say my Nausicaa wanted to attack this privateer. In order to attack her, she must move diagonally first, and then move in a straight line. So to attack right here, she cannot do this. The reason why is because Rapier is directly placed in front of Nausicaa's pathing. When Nausicaa approaches Rapier, which she must in order to attack the privateer, she'll be immobilized, forced to skip her turn. Here is another example. We have two units, in this case Nausicaa with 7 movement and Doris Doomclaw with 5.5 movement. Neither can reach the privateer normally. Base movement is not the only way to move. Pirate has a few abilities that increase movement of a unit. In this case, we have charges, which doubles the user's movement. For Nausicaa, 7 would be doubled to 14, and Durst Doomclaw, with his 5.5 movement, would be doubled to 11 even. Note that there are other movement increase options like Highlander's Charge or the Ravencry ability series. Also, if you were paying attention, you would notice that Nausicaa will be getting choked up on Rapier's Hold the Line once again. However, what we can do is create a bypass. Bypass meaning bypassing the reactionary epics, such as Hold the Line, Repel, Overwatch, etc. A bypass is made by having a unit, in this case Nausicaa, walk to, in this case, Rapier's Hold the Line. Then any other unit, such as Doris Doomclaw, could walk through her, ignoring those epics. And once again, this case is Rapier's Hold the Line, and Doris can attack the privateer. Alright, we talked about charges and other movement increase options. However, there are also movement debuffs. Movement debuffs are a bit weird as they have a discrepancy between what's actually going on and what the tooltip says is going on. We're mainly going to be talking about Maelstrom, which is a 50% AoE slow in PvP. However, this also applies to Widow's Touch, Mojo Blizzard, or any of the lower tier Maelstrom abilities. So let's take a Nausicaa, for example, who has 7.0 movement. Well, if we half that from Maelstrom, so minus 50%, that'll become 3.5 movement. However, the tooltip says it's minus 4 movement. Well, 7 minus 4 is 3, So Nausicaa is supposed to have 3 movement, but she actually has 3.5. So for the numbers, what's actually happening is what it says it's happened. So it's directly 50% movement decrease. However, the tooltip will always round up in a decimal. However, when we're talking about the odd numbers, so your 6.5s, your 4.5s, or your 5.5s, this is where it gets a little weirder. When having, for example, Fan Flanders, who has 6.5 movement, when having that, we get 3.25 movement. However, it will actually round down to the nearest zero point 0.5 value, which in this case would be 3.0 movement. But the tooltip will say it's -4 movement once again. So, to put it in absolutely plain terms, is that when doing percent-based movement, it will always round down to the nearest zero point 0.5, while the tooltip will always round up to the nearest whole number. Alright, so brief recap. Moving in a straight line costs 1.0 movement per tile. Moving in a diagonal line costs 1.5 movement per tile. You will always move diagonally first to your location's row or column, then move straight. You will always move in the least amount of movement cost required to your location. This means that you won't be weaving in or out of objects or enemies. What it won't do, move around objects or enemies in an excessive way. So if you want to move around an object, like make a big circle around a barrel, the game won't let you do that. This means that these movement patterns can be manipulated to your advantage by making your enemies walk into your reactionary epics or traps. You can create an eye patch for one of your units, so where they stand in a spot where reactionary epics would trigger, then send any following units through the first unit to avoid those reactionary epics like hold the line. So for example, if you have a Nausicaa and you send it at a Ratbeard, Nausicaa will get immobilized by hold the line. But if you send in a Yultrog after her, you will bypass Ratbeard's hold the line by walking through Nausicaa. This means that charges and other forms of offensive, sorry, charges and other forms of movement increases will greatly increase your offensive pressure. Movement debuffs have a discrepancy between what's actually going on and what the tooltip says is going on. Movement debuffs will always round down to the nearest 0.5 interval, while the tooltip will always round up to the nearest whole number. So for example, let's take Fan Flanders, who has a movement speed of 6.5. Well, if she gets reduced by half from Maelstrom, that movement gets reduced to 3.25. Well, that means it's going to round down to 3.0. But the tooltip, instead of saying minus 3.5 movement, will say minus 4 movement. And so, as I end this video, I'll put up on screen all the units or pirates under certain circumstances that have heightened movement, or those who can increase their movement through stuff like charges.